Welcome to GIDSS Talk. Today we have our special guest Gurkiran Kaur. She's a student placement coordinator at St. Clair College. She has successfully placed hundreds of students like me in successful Canadian agencies. She is here to enlighten our viewers how to prepare a resume and a cover letter to be successful in Canadian job market. Welcome Gurkiran to GIDSS Talk.
Thank you for having me here today at the GIDSS platform.
So my first question is, do you think if there's anything like good and bad resume?
I don't necessarily think there's a good resume or a bad resume. A resume is something that is your first meeting with the potential employer. So there's resumes that are well communicated, that are well articulated, and there's resumes that need a bit more help. So there's no good or bad, but there's just something that needs to be worked on.
Okay. Gurkiran, you have gone through thousands of resumes while working on this position. How do you think a resume could be an excellent portrait of one's knowledge, skills and experience? Or in simple words, what are the qualities of very good resume?
I think, like I mentioned before, that the resume is your first point of contact with a potential employer. So it needs to show that you've put some effort into it. Because if you're applying for the position, you need to show why it is that the employer should give you a call. For instance, I would say always make sure that your resume is properly formatted. Always put the reason why you're applying for this job. So if your employer is seeking for a certain position, make sure you tailor your resume to that as well. Also, refrain from using I's and ums as if you're just talking on your resume. This should be well articulated, so when someone reads it, automatically they know that you're a professional looking for this position.
What important role a cover letter plays while applying for a job, especially in Canadian job market?
So a cover letter is something that's additional to your resume. A resume should be short and crisp, no longer than 1 to 2 pages long. And a cover letter is that segue that shows that this is what I've done and this is how these skills will be transferable into a position that the person is applying for. For instance, there's a lot of students like yourself, or even myself when I was a student, that have the degree, that have the educational background, but don't necessarily have the exact skills right away. For instance, if they're working to be a social worker, but this whole time they've just worked in customer service because they were a student and it was flexible, the cover letter can really show that how customer service skills can be transferred to becoming a social worker when you're applying for a position.
How could be a cover letter short and crisp, in simple words, as per your vast valuable experience in this field? What are the qualities of focused cover letter which will drive employers' attention towards your resume?
So when people are looking at resume, and especially if they get to the point of reading your cover letter, there should be 3 main things. One should be the skills, then the education experience, and qualifications. The cover letter should really show why it is that you're applying for this position and why you would be the best fit. Know that for an average position, there's hundreds of resumes coming for the same position, possibly with the same amount of educational qualification. Now, when you're writing your resume and your cover letter, I would suggest that you really make it to the job description. So make sure your skills are on there, your education, as well as the qualification directly beneficial to the employer.
Last but very important question. What is the importance of keywords in resume and cover letter, and how big companies who receive thousands of resumes for one job filter them using technology or outsourcing methods?
So keywords are very, very important when working with resumes. And as like you mentioned, many companies are using technology and outsourcing methods which filter your resumes. So if your keywords are not matching the ones in the job description, your resume will unfortunately not even make it to an actual person. With that being said, you have to be very careful. Make sure that when you use keywords, they're not repetitive and they don't get to a point where it no longer makes sense. Don't put a keyword in every little sentence. If you're using keywords, ensure that they're relevant to the work that you have done and they're relevant to the job that you're applying for. So it will really help the technology, but make sure that your end goal is to ensure that it ends up in a person's hands. So when the person reads it, it doesn't seem like a waste of their time.
Thanks Gurkiran for coming to GIDSS Talk. We also thanks Government of Canada for funding Bridging the Gap project This whole talk was part of this project.
Thank you for having me here today, and I would encourage the Government of Canada to continue to support projects like this that uplift the community.
And I would also like to thank our viewers for staying with us.
And keep watching a GIDSS talk for videos like this that will give you the appropriate tools to be successful in the Canadian job market.
Thank you.